Such a pleasure having you here. I was talking to Ed before and he was telling me he's only just on 2 weeks into his new role and capacity. He was describing being here as a baptism of fire, but I think hopefully it was friendlier experience than he had anticipated. Well, I hope everyone enjoyed their lunch break, had the opportunity to kickstart some new conversations. Again, the social activity's been phenomenal. It was great. Our panelists jumped off after the last session and started immediately reading all this commentary and questions that were going on online, and I gather have been engaging in a whole other dialogue that kind of complements the one that happened here on stage. So please feel free to keep that conversation going using the hashtag EDU2019. We're going to kick into our afternoon session now, and it is one where I'm going to invite you to engage on Slido again as well. So I'm just going to flag in your app the question button, jump on there, feel free to submit questions, vote them up, and you can feel free as well to be posting comments on social media, but we can take them via Slido or via the app for this afternoon's session. So joining me on stage, we have István Kapitány, and he is the Global Executive Vice President of Royal Dutch Shell. As Shell's Global Executive Vice President, he is responsible for the largest mobility retail business in the world. With operations over 80 countries, with more than 500,000 frontline champions, serving around 30 million customers every single day across more than 45,000 locations. Some of those numbers are quite extraordinary to wrap your head around, aren't they, when you think about the scale of what we're talking about here. István is leading the global retail business through an energy transition, and that's going to be a big part of the conversation we're going to have today, including the introduction of electric vehicles and charging, as well as into lower emissions energy solutions. István also oversees the retail industry's largest employee awards program, People Make a Real Difference. So we're going to talk a bit about that cultural side of taking a business on a transformation journey too. He's also a leading member of the brand executive, intimately involved in thinking about how to humanise Shell's brand and reputation in market. So really interesting mix of background and experience. Can you join me in giving a big Energy Disruptors welcome to István?
Hi guys.
Welcome.
Hi Holly.
It's so good to have you. It's great. How are you?
I'm doing good.
Excellent. We were just chatting.
Dinosaur moving, eh?
Dinosaur, yeah, I know. I don't know if that was a flattering commentary or not.
Yeah, very good.
Right of reply, would you like to characterize yourself as a different kind of animal, perhaps?
Well, yeah, absolutely. A little bit more active and living, perhaps. Yeah, it's quite interesting, as you said. Good start, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah, you said the job I do,
yeah.
Which is showing how big a company like Shell can be.
It's enormous.
I really do a business with customers, yeah, 30 million customers, 500,000 colleagues who are serving them. So I see energy transition big time as an opportunity for us.
Yeah.
Because we do have basically this customer relationship for the last 100 years,
yeah.
building customers every single year. And you know, for us, energy transition started a tick earlier than many people thought, because we have been selling a mosaic of fuels for a long period of time. If you think about this, we started to sell higher octane products, we started to sell lower sulfur diesel, we started to sell, if you still remember, LPG. At one stage, many governments believed that it was a great way to go forward. We pioneered biofuels. We are the biggest blender and producer of biofuels, first generation and now also second generation. We are the ones who started to sell CNG, now recently LNG, which is of course a very important thing in Canada. And clearly we are a front runner in hydrogen service stations and also very active in electric vehicle charging, as you heard. So we really see energy transition certainly from the customer viewpoint rather than just from the investor's viewpoint, which we heard previously, as something very exciting, a great upside potential for us. That's one of the reasons why the business I run, which has 45,000 sites, we plan to have by 2025, 55,000 of them.
Wow.
From 80 countries to 100 countries, and very much selling LNG, selling electric vehicle charging, selling hydrogen, selling first and second generation biofuels, and at the same time still selling, as we heard from Ed, of course, oil products, because internal combustion engine cars will be running on our roads together with electric vehicle fleets and hydrogen fleets and LNG fleets in the next period. So we start from the customer. We try to be doing what customers want certainly Shell as a retailer.
And can I ask practically, I mean, one of the things that blows my mind when you talk about that many customers, 30 million of them, that's an extraordinary number. Every day.
Yeah.
How do you get close to your customer? We're using this term all the time in business now around customer centricity, right?
Yeah.
And I feel like it's a bit of a throwaway line some of the time.
Yeah.
How do you actually understand what the customers want? And also, is there a little bit of the Henry Ford mantra, don't ask the customer what they want, tell them what they want? I mean, what's that duality?
Both of them are true. So I run a business which sounds like a global business, and I don't have one single global customer. It's quite an interesting, most like I got the job because I realized in this big company that customers in Seattle don't really care what the offer is in Plovdiv. And the customers in Plovdiv don't get really excited about the great offers we have in Burkina Faso. So basically, this business is a very local business. I mean, our operation in Canada is as good as our Canadian business colleagues are producing a great service for our customers. So that 30 million is an aggregate number. The important number is for every single service station, the customers who are visiting, the regular customers who are visiting, we need to understand them.
And so did I hear right that you have more service stations than there are McDonald's or Starbucks?
That's
right. How big the footprint
is? That's very good. Yeah, that's absolutely true. By more than 10,000 more than they do have.
So it's a significant footprint.
But again, that's the whole issue, that you see, it doesn't really matter for one single customer how many sites you have.
Sure, but I'm just thinking about the challenge at aggregate of what you're leading in transformation.
Well, you see, you mentioned, I was so happy to hear the 500,000 people who are working with us, our service champions all around the world. They are very energetic, enthusiastic about the brand, about the Shell brand, and serving our customers. And whether we serve the customers with petrol, V-Power, or electric vehicle charging, or coffee, it doesn't really matter. You know, you need to be selling what customers would like to have and shaping what they want, which is very, very true what you mentioned. Just to give you an example, we started almost 10 years ago in Germany to build a hydrogen service station network in a consortium. Today we have 42 hydrogen service stations in Germany, and we have roughly around 900 hydrogen cars in Germany. So you might ask, why do you have a big network of that? And the reason why we do have that, because you learn how to serve customers really well, because we do not know when the tipping point comes. People think that Shell is very big, but if you just think about this, we are representing roughly around 3% supplying the oil and gas needs in the world. And that's already including the products that we buy from others. We are selling 4 times more products than we produce. Only 25% of the volume that we are selling are coming out of Shell refineries. We are having business partners. We are not buying coffee from a Shell company. We are not buying hot dog from a Shell company. We are foremost, we are making, in terms of convenience retail, starting to become a very, very big player in this. In coffee retail alone, most likely we are in the top 5 in the world in terms of how many cups of coffee we sell. So energy transition is, in my view, offering us a tremendous opportunity to be significantly more, using the buzzword, customer-centric, but not in a way that you read many, many studies about this, but be out there with the customers, understand what they want, give them even more. And the other greatest gift that we have is that we can trial and error small things all around the world. So what we are learning in Malaysia, we might be able to try in Turkey. And when we see that it is really working, we are able to run it all around the world. And that's one of the reasons why we are leading in hydrogen. We are leading certainly in electric vehicle charging in our own industry. As you know, in nature-based solution, we are making huge progresses. Some of the great examples I can share with you.
So I wanted to ask, you mentioned before that Shell have really had a mosaic of energy options for some time now. So when you use the energy transition phrase in 2019, what does it mean that's different to what Shell has looked like, say, over the last 5-10 years? How are you reconceiving or challenging at a new level what the business looks like? Yeah,
so it is very clear to us that the new way of mobility is very much preferred by a huge customer segment. One of the things which I normally miss from energy transition discussions is the customer angle. That electric vehicle customers, they just love their cars. It's cool. We do marketing. Interestingly, that arm that I lead in Shell, we do marketing. And what you find is people who drive electric vehicles, whether this is in Germany or in the United States, they just love those cars. And in our own experience, when people like things, when they are emotional about it, this would fly. The cost curve might not be perfect, but they would buy this. And that is why we believe we need to go ahead of the curve. So that's the reason why a significant investment is going in there. Now, we heard from the previous speaker that clearly compared to the oil and gas investment of the company, this is not the majority of our investment. Sure. But when we are talking about $2 to $4 billion investment in this category, in new energies, renewable energies, Shell is one of the biggest investors. Shell is also, of course, a commercially driven company. So the moment we see that we are able to make money, and more we see that from these activities, because we have to be doing this commercially viably, there is no doubt that the proportion of the investment will be shifting towards these products.
You mentioned Ed's comment earlier around kind of that not necessarily being a huge part of the portfolio. I wanted to ask you about whether this is a challenge Shell navigates. In some regards, I can see the company's history, the extraordinary size of the footprint, as being absolutely critical to playing a role in transition because of the trust and the reputation and that element of things. On the flip side, I can see the skepticism and the cynicism about Shell's intention and the degree to which there might be, or what might be motivating the transition. How do you navigate that as leaders, and how do you think about that from a brand standpoint?
Yeah. So it's an interesting dilemma because luckily to me, my daily job that I'm dealing with our customers, and it's quite interesting, our customers are very positive about us. That's the reason why they're very loyal. The majority of the Shell customers, the so-called 4 out of 5, 5 out of 5 customers, they come to Shell because there is a trust towards the services, the products, the quality we provide. There is no any doubt in their minds when they shift from a diesel-powered car to an electric vehicle, that if Shell offers electric vehicle charging, we're going to be very good in this. One of the surveys we did do was show that we were the second most trusted potential player in electric vehicle charging. I will not name the first one. It's not in our company, not an energy company. Why? Because we have been this customer interface for a long, long period of time. One of the interesting things about a company like Shell is that you do have the traditional oil and gas investors who have a view on it. There is an energy transition, and there are then the daily 30 million customers. And their views are very, very different. If you see our brand share of preference, which is leading in most of the markets where we are, so when we ask the customers, which brand would you want to serve you in your mobility needs, they typically say it's Shell. When we are talking about more of the analytical side, the investor side, understandably, there are some question marks. Who is going to be winning? I believe we do have the opportunity to win in energy transition, and the reason why we do have the opportunity, because we do have experiences in transitional periods in our company's history, and because we are really, really offering a mosaic of solutions, the mosaics of different kind of fuels for a long period of time.
Absolutely. And I think it's interesting, one of the things that a couple of our panels have touched on today is just really that difficulty of changing what they've described as sort of hardwired habits. And I can imagine, describing Shell and the sheer size of the footprint, the workforce base, it feels like shifting the Titanic in many ways. I'd love you to talk us through the process, say, internally, that arrived at getting a net carbon footprint ambition, for example, because I imagine that's a massive journey to take people on inside the organisation. What have you observed around how to lead transformation inside a large organisation like Shell?
So the organisation itself tremendously welcome positive, proactive steps in energy transition. So when you see within the company, I talk to many people, we have town halls, I spend 200 days a year by traveling around and talking to people. People love to participate in proactive ways in energy transition. So that is why, to have that commitment that we made was not that difficult for the company to make. When we are talking about, I'll give you this example, we launched a program in Holland, the Nature-Based Solution Program, where we are offering now for our customers a carbon neutral driving if they come to a Shell service station. And we do this in a way that we do understand our own customers. So stay with me for a second, because retail is detail. So we do have customers who buy V-Power. I mean, put up your hand if you buy V-Power. Very good, very good. Okay. Whoever didn't put up the hand, I have plenty of time afterwards. We can talk, and I have a couple of colleagues to. Now, you know that this is our premium product. People who buy these premium products, we offset their carbon usage ourselves. If people are basically our loyalty members, and they are in the loyalty program, and they would like to get their loyalty bonus in the form of carbon credit, we provide that for them. If they don't participate in our loyalty program, if they don't buy V-Power, they can contribute 1 cent a liter, which is around an average fill-up, 25 cent a fill-up, and their their carbon emission will be neutralized. We neutralized this from our nature-based solution investment, $300 million. We invested into forestation, wetland conservation projects. So basically, we are not only just offsetting the carbon usage, but we are producing basically the nature-based solutions by participating in them. And the last element, which is a growing element, is that in Holland, by the end of 2020, we will have 200 service stations with electric vehicle charging. These are fast chargers, so these are 150 kilowatt-hour chargers, and we are only selling green energy. So if you come to Shell today, and if you decide so, you can drive carbon-free. Now, you know many carbon credit and offset programs, and typically they get to around 1% to 2% penetration. One of the things which turned me on, can we get a significantly bigger portion of our customers doing that? And as we speak, 1 in 6 offset their carbon, so it's 16%, 17% offsetting. And it means, because we have 30% market share in Holland, it's roughly around 5% of the motorists now driving carbon neutral in Holland. So you ask me, what do I do, István, who is running a business, a part of a business of Shell, to actually help energy transition? It's very practical. Because one of the things I believe with energy transition, people are waiting for each other. People are waiting for governments to make a decision or say that the customers should be changing their buying habits, or oil companies should be doing this. I think what we need to do, proactively understanding the customers, to come up with solutions they believe is suitable for them to go forward. Now, I have a strong belief that in this world, only 2 stakeholders can pay for anything. Customers and taxpayers. And all the rest, when we talk about energy companies and governments, they do not exist. Customers do exist, and taxpayers exist. Therefore, our job, if you work for a marketing arm, is to make it exciting for them. And that's the reason why we spend so much energy on the new energy part of our business as well.
And do you find, to that end, in terms of creating excitement around the future of energy, is that easy, harder than you might have anticipated? Is that different across different pockets of the globe? In some aspects, does it create fear, and in others, it creates optimism? So
within the company, it is fantastic. For your own staff, if you want to have motivated staff with full energy, I mean, all the new energy programs, and people want to work on them because they just love it. They want to do something for the environment.
Your customers?
Customers are very, very different from one country to another.
Yeah, I can imagine
Countries are very different. So I'm responsible for 81 countries. I tell you, the challenges we do have in Pakistan today is a very, very different challenge than what we have in Norway, not surprisingly. In Norway, more than 50% of the vehicles that are sold there are electric vehicles. It is now a standard feature of a Shell service station to have electric vehicle charging. We are charging 100 cars a day. Pakistan is far behind this development. So as, by the way, Russia in that sense. And China is leading. So China is unbelievable. I mean, we do have now service stations. I've just seen the new sites coming up in Tianjin in China. We are putting in 10 chargers.
Yeah, wow.
In Europe, typically, we put in 1 or 2 chargers because we don't have enough electric vehicles. In China, there are some areas of China where the electric vehicle population is so dense that you really need to do that. But it means that one size not fits all. So we call it in Shell, empowering the frontline, which means that we give guidance and strategic direction, but we want our local management to make a decision what is best for Pakistan, what is best for Canada. Because if you try to do the same, and by the way, there were some tendencies, as you may imagine, that try to have this average global standard all around the world, you're not going to be able to serve your customers, because the customers at this stage are wanting different things. Not only just in energy.
Sure, absolutely.
Also in food, the type of coffee that we sell is different in different parts of the world. The type of food that we are selling is different in different parts of the world because customers are local.
Yeah. And we're picking up on some of that cultural nuance. I'm going to jump to one of our audience questions. Someone's asked, made the observation that Shell's energy transition is moving much more rapidly in Europe, and there's slower movement in Canada. Is that predominantly driven by policy issues or consumer behavior, do you think?
It's mainly consumer behavior. We're moving very fast, actually, with these programs in Europe and in China. And it's very much so because in these when we talk about Europe, also the northern part of Europe, because if you are comparing some of the more Central Eastern European countries, there the development is slower. But watch the pace, because one of the things which we also needed to do to get up to scale with these programs, to make money. Because, for example, now we have a commitment for the UK and the Netherlands to cover the whole country with electric vehicle charging. The reason why we are able to do that, because we learned how to do it profitably. How to actually offer these products to customers to make it very convenient for them, because they have a huge range anxiety. They need to have space to sit down. What is the right size of charger? We started with 50 kilowatt hour, now we're switching to 150 kilowatt hours. The average time the customers spend today on our sites is 17 minutes. We would like to get down to 10. 10 is long enough to get them into the store, to have a cup of coffee, to have a bit of a food, use the internet connection, and also buy electricity from us. Now we know it's a business case. It's not basically a charity activity. It's a business case where customers are coming to us because they believe our electric vehicle charging services are better and more competitive than what they find, because clearly in these countries, in Holland and UK, you find competitors in this area.
And you picked up there on this piece around almost the data analytics of optimization, really, and thinking about the new business model. What role is data and digitalization playing in where the business is going?
So digitalization in our business is huge. So we are now moving all of our loyalty programs to digital platforms. And most likely we have one of the biggest loyalty customer base in the world. We have around 60 million people who are partnered in a loyalty program. And in some parts of the world, it's unbelievable growth. So in China, in a year, we have 10 million more customers in our loyalty program. And without basically digitalizing the programs, it's very, very difficult. So for us, digitalizing the core offers that we have, which is basically payment for our fuels. So on the forecourt, you can pay with mobile payment. You don't have to go into the store. If you don't want to digitalize your loyalty programs, are the most important elements. And then digitalize, for example, convenience retail. In China, which is far ahead in digitalization in many aspects of the world, we do have a partner called Bingo Box, and we have solutions now that you go into the store, and basically, because everything is pre-registered with your card, whatever you buy, a video system, very much like Amazon Go, it's reading what you bought, and basically you just walk out. You don't have to do anything. We do have in some parts of China now, 95% of the payment is mobile payment.
Yeah, wow.
In Europe, by the way, where we also offer mobile payment, or in the US, this is currently around 5%. So very, very different development stages in digital as well. And our job is to actually make sure that we are there and offering to customers this as a choice. Everything we do, if you want to have one word for Shell's marketing businesses, we provide choice. We don't want to tell customers what to do. We try to make it easy for them or convenient for them, offering them good products and services, but the choice is theirs. We offer a mosaic of fuels and mosaic of services.
Which speaks to that localized nature of approach,
Totally.
as big as the company is.
Totally.
We've got another question coming through, and I might reframe it slightly. It's from Aki. How much Shell revenue should we expect from renewable in the future? So I guess two sides. We might take that back, the investment strategy, but also the forecast.
Yeah, so we do have a huge business in producing oil and gas, but also we do have a very big business in marketing. We are selling huge amount of products and services. For my business, I can tell you this. By 2025, we would like to achieve that 50% of our income comes from non-fuel related income in terms of our marketing income.
And what is it today?
Today is around 30%.
Okay, so significant lift.
Huge, huge, huge. But again, in Asia, if you see, we are just putting in convenience stores. Renewable energies as well, we say today it's very minute, as we talked about. It's a very limited one. We would like to have 20% of our income is coming from renewable products like LNG, like first and second generation biofuels, like electric vehicle charging, like hydrogen by 2025. Now, you might say, oh, that's a big number. If you think about in Brazil, where we do have a huge ethanol production business as well, 50% of our petrol sales today is ethanol. And we are trying to move this first generation ethanol to second generation, where we are producing from the non-eatable part of the product, second generation biofuels. And this could be a local solution in that part of Latin America. It's not going to be a global solution. Equally, we work with a solution, patented solution called IH2, where we are producing from municipality and agricultural waste, dropping quality fuel in Bangalore. Now in India, this would be a fantastic opportunity if we can commercialize it, and it looks like that we are able to, because we would be able to put down small little factories, refineries, producing around 100 million liters of fuel where the customers are, in a market where agricultural and municipal waste is huge, and in a market where they still import crude. So quite a number of mosaic of solutions are available. And then coming back where we started, one solution doesn't fit. That makes, by the way, my life such an exciting life, because whatever is a solution in Brazil is certainly not a solution in India.
You, am I right, joined Shell in 1987?
That's right.
That's right.
On the wrong side of the Iron Curtain, yes.
Yeah, well, I'm just thinking about, thinking about that period of time when you joined, jumping forward to 2019, what surprises you most about the business here and now? What would you have never foreseen in 1987 when you joined Shell that's a part of the business or part of what you do day in, day out?
Yeah. So one thing, when I joined Shell in 1987, we were told that in 25 years we're running out of oil. And we are sitting here, and it looks like that a huge part of that might be stranded. So never say never. And also the other thing for me personally, coming out from a small Central Eastern European country, if you told me in 1987 that I will be sitting here in 2019 and talking to you guys about what Shell does in energy transition, I would have said, what are you smoking? Because I would love to smoke that as well, because it was looking totally impossible. So one of the things which I believe is impossible happens. And of course, in a positive way.
Yeah.
What happened was the biggest change we had is really in the last 10 years, Shell went through quite a strong revolution of being very customer focused. Externally, it's not well known. Our customers know that. We really try to make decisions now, starting from the customer rather than what we can produce. And that's one of the reasons why we want to do the power business. And certainly we don't have, for the time being, the big production capabilities in the power business. But we believe that with our customer contacts that we have all around the world, we have a great opportunity to do power differently than the others. Great example, we bought a company called First Utility in the UK, which is an electricity company selling to households electricity. And now basically we are running this company together with our retail arm. With the Go Plus program, you get fuel discount. If you buy to Shell, you can go and First Utility Shell Energy customers get benefits from the loyalty program. So we're gonna be able to use, I think, this customer base that we have. This is an accelerated growth that we see in the last 5 years, but it's not different than it was before. It is just faster, and that's why it's most exciting. But if you sit here and, in 10 minutes time, we're going to put everything on LinkedIn and Twitter and Facebook and all the rest. 30 years ago, nobody would have said that. I am from that camp who loves this. I think this is it's pointing us to the right direction. We are faster, we are far more agile, and the jury is still out. Who is going to win this? Nobody has basically a default position in energy transition. But I'm not only saying this because I'm with Shell for 32 years, but I know my own colleagues, I know my own team, how passionate they are about our customers. And if I were you, I would vote for Shell.
We had comments on the stage earlier today that picked up on the language you just used there around revolution, and the need to be a little revolutionary with the way that we think about moving forward. What was it? And I'm just thinking as well, given we've got Malcolm Gladwell coming tomorrow, famously the author of Tipping Point, in terms of these moments that just catalyse, ripple effect change. What was it that started the revolution? What lessons are there for people that are sitting there in organisations going, we could drive a bit of revolution? Might be in our culture, might be in our production, might be in our operation. What lessons have you got for what it takes to lead a revolution?
I give you my own personal journey. I've been working for Shell for a long time, and I thought I would never live long enough, that customer centricity will be the mantra of Shell. I went to different kind of courses and workshops in the decades, and we talked a lot about production and how we can basically do more exploration and production. Today, when you come to any Shell event, whether it's a very senior event or junior event, everybody's talking about customers. And customers are exciting because they are all very unique, very real. There is not one single solution, as we talked about. And the moment everything is hovering around that, a company is starting to change. And I've seen this change in Shell in the last 5 years, and I am more than delighted to see that even a dinosaur can change very rapidly, and that gives, of course, a great hope that this dinosaur will not disappear, but will be faster, perhaps smaller, but very agile.
I really hope there's some memes being used in our Twitter feed right now about dinosaurs and movement. If people haven't grabbed that already and run with it, please do. I've got a customer question that seems to be coming to the top of the feed. When do you forecast EV charging will be standard at Shell stations in Canada?
I think by latest 2025, I think it would be standard. As I said to you, in some of the European countries, quasi, we are going to be making them almost like standard for new sites in the next year or two. I think Canada, the latest to 2025. This is not, by the way, an investment commitment before you ask how much, but that's what I would suspect. In China, it's even faster. As I said to you, in Norway, you just build it now, so you don't even think about it. I was very pleased to see in China as well is that this is now the normal way of doing this. And it's a very good question, by the way, because what will define this is, A, how customers are going to be using it, because clearly you need to have customers, but also what is the role we play in helping customers. Because I talk to many customers who buy electric vehicle charging services from us, and their biggest issue is very different than the internal combustion engine car drivers. It's still today range anxiety. Do I get to where I need to do? So that's one of the reasons why in Europe we participating in a consortium called IONITY. In Europe we have 450 motorway sites all across Europe, and Europe is geographically very small. And 100 of that by end of 2020 we'll have high-powered electric vehicle charging. High-powered means 350 kilowatt hour. So for the cars that are produced after 2019, the fill-up time will be around 5 minutes. Wow. So it is like basically filling up, and the range for these new cars will be 500 to 800 kilometers. And the moment this is shifting, and it's shifting technologically very fast, we will see a significantly bigger uptake. I am actually an optimist in terms of the number of electric vehicle cars. You can see many forecasts, and one of the most commonly used that by 2040 there will be around 2 billion cars on the road. 1 billion cars today and 2 billion in 2040. And there are figures between 300 million to 700 million electric vehicle cars by then. I think it might be even more. But let's see. And the reason why I say it might be even more again, because I'm a marketeer, and when I talk to people who drive an electric vehicle, I never met anybody who wouldn't have been absolutely fascinated by the car. They think it's cool. I live in London, and as you might know, the black cabs, they are not producing black cabs with internal combustion engine anymore. They switched to electric vehicles. And I talk to the cabbies who are doing this job for 40 years with internal combustion engines, and they all are fantastic. Oh, this is the best thing happened to me. And when I see this as a marketer, that people like it so much, emotionally attached to this, it might get even faster.
Nice. It was interesting to see that example too of a collaboration you're involved with that you probably wouldn't have been in 5 years ago. The way it's forcing you to think differently about how you engage with stakeholders and who it is you're partnering with and what those partnerships are looking like.
We see this as our business. It's quite interesting because the tone very often, as you may imagine, you go and say, oh well, you have a bit of a problem because you sell gasoline and diesel, and there will be more electric vehicle charging. I mean, as you know, we're very active at service stations, but we are also very active in home, office, and destination charging. With New Motion, our company in Europe, we have 40,000 charge points. We are the biggest European electric vehicle charging company right now. We bought Greenlots in the United States, which is helping us to grow our business in North America and also in Singapore. Basically, we just launched our electric vehicle charging. So So it is starting to become, as you could see, a very, not only just a very important part, but a very exciting opportunity for us, which we like to pursue.
I want to take us to the top question here. We heard from Ed just before that he mentioned a couple of rebrands. So Stat Oil's rebranding to Equinor, Canada's own TransCanada.
Yeah.
Any chance of Royal Dutch Shell rebranding?
So I don't think so. And the reason, although it's not going to be my decision, as you may imagine, but I'm running the biggest branded part of Shell. And what we hear from our customers, they like this brand. They love this brand as a consumer brand. I mentioned to you that we did this survey to ask our customers in selected markets is that which are the brands you would trust in electric vehicle charging? And Shell came second at the time when we didn't have much electric vehicle charging. And the reason why, because we serve these 30 million customers every single day. 1 billion customers are bypassing our service stations, potential customers, every single day. The 45,000 sites is 10 minutes away from 90% of the population where we have an operation. It is one of the strongest brands. If you see our brand value, and I will not name big FMCG companies who are far behind the Shell brand, which is basically just over, by brand franchise, just over $40 billion value attached to the brand name alone, which is the franchisability of the brand. Our license business, our franchise business, is growing 3 to 4 countries every single year. So for us to even consider to change a brand name which is delivering so much trust for our customers would not be a very good idea. As a matter of fact, what we need to do, we need to be making sure that Shell is going to mean even more for the customers. And we always try to give a mosaic of fuels and services, and in the future it's going to be even more. And I would perhaps finish with a story.
Sure.
The story is always better than any strategic directions I found. A lady from the Midlands wrote me a letter to say that after 40 years of driving a diesel car, she decided to switch to electric vehicle. And she realizes that the Shell service station, the local Shell service station, which is her local Shell service station, which is very important, this is my local service station, she said, is not offering electric vehicle charging. Please do so, because my husband still drives a diesel vehicle, and we love your local Shell service station, and we like Jim, who is running this, and please bring electric vehicle charging. Now, that's when I say it's no-brainer. Your customers are telling you what you need to do, and your customers are telling you that when you are good locally with the customers, you have a choice in the future that you succeed, and you succeed more than the ones who do not have this customer base.
Absolutely. We've got another question coming through. Shell made the recent decision to invest in LNG in Canada. What else is Shell considering in terms of its Canadian profile?
So we, as you know, Canada is one of the, so for Shell, Canada is one of the biggest operations. We are truly integrated. We are very strong in upstream, very strong in, I mean, LNG Canada was a huge investment, a huge commitment. We're very, very big in refining. We have 1,400 service stations in Canada, and we're adding 40 to 50 service stations every single year. We are also actively looking at any other opportunities in the retailing and the marketing area. Wind and solar are thrown in. Are they potential considerations in the mix? Well, our new energy team is looking at everything, as you may imagine, in this 2 to 4 billion range to invest, and in Canada is on the list, and many others are on the list. It's not public, so I cannot comment on anything, but everything is looked at. But the important thing about Canada is that Canada is a core market for Shell. We have 4,000 employees in Canada. The market is strong. If you see the marketing piece, all the other international companies withdrew themselves from marketing. We are basically growing the marketing business. So there is a full commitment from Shell to Canada, and anything which could be commercially viably done, we would prefer to do it in Canada, of course, because we have such a great workforce here. If I can bring it to the personal side of things for a moment, we were just talking about your 2 wonderful daughters before we came on stage. I imagine as a dad and as a leader, it's hard not to think about legacy, it's hard not to think about the next generation. How do you think about the legacy you'd like to leave from your time at Shell and the responsibility that organisations like Shell have to the next generation? So indeed, as you say, I'm very lucky to have 2 lovely daughters, 20, 25, and they both studied business and management. One is already working in digital consultancy. So I have to be up to speed with my digital capabilities because she's checking every single day. But I will be tweeting and sending LinkedIn messages after this. And the smaller one is still at university living with me in London. What I try to teach them is this: connect with people, live your life, yeah? And try to be help when you are going to be doing a job, other people to succeed. So one of the biggest things for me in my own career in 32 years is what happened to me, that some people believed in me more than I ever believed, and therefore I was able to progress. The same way I like to see my own daughters, to make sure that not only they succeed, but they help others to succeed and to get to their full potential. Because when you look back in your career, and I'm sure that many of you would agree with that, you don't remember how much money your department did do in 1997, but you remember on people. You remember the stories that I was able to help this person to get their full potential because I was able to see something in him or in her, and I helped succeeding him in his or in her journeys. That is what I try to get with my own daughters, because, and the other thing is, don't think about career as a position, think about career as a journey. Because as I said, I started from a very humble origin from Hungary, and what I enjoy is not the position I have today, the thing which I enjoy, the ride. The 32 years working in South Africa, in Singapore, in Germany, in the United Kingdom, in Houston. I was the only Hungarian cowboy, in the office. These are lovely things in life. So enjoy life and live it. Don't worry about too much titles and this kind of stuff.
And thinking about that responsibility organisations have for the next generation, how do you think about that as a leader?
Well, it is a very different responsibility what organizations have. So when I joined Shell, it was almost like they're looking after you and all the rest. The world doesn't work that way. The world works in a way that you really need to make sure that you are on top of everything what you do and you are succeeding. What organizations can do in the period while somebody is working for them, which might not be a very long period of time, they have to be providing them with an environment where they can flourish. So diversity, for me, is very, very important. Yeah? Sidney Kimball is here, who is running our Americas business, who's Canadian, running America. Andra Brecke is running Canada. In my team, if you see my global leadership team, that would be certainly different than what you would expect, perhaps, if you think about Shell. We do have a variety of different kind of approaches. Not only just gender diversity we have and religious diversity we have in the global team. So, for example, Asia is run by a colleague who is from Egypt. Basically, China is finally run by a very, very young Chinese People's Republic of China leader, instead of basically a more senior person. We do have a Bulgarian fleet solution manager, which is the biggest fleet solution business in the world. And if you see our interaction in my leadership team, is looking through a problem through very, very different lenses. Now, I can tell you this: as a leader, it's easier to run with a homogeneous group of people, because people tend to agree on everything. If you have this level of diversity in terms of thinking, this is really making sure that there are enough healthy conflicts, constructive conflicts that can help us to understand these global businesses we talked about. Because to understand a business where you have 80 countries and 30 million customers every single day, need diversity in views.
I like healthy conflict. Now, before we wrap up this session, there's an exciting commitment that Shell have made as part of being involved as a partner in Energy Disruptors this year. Can you explain to us what's happening?
Yes, you can see there is that we're very proud that since 1998, we planted over 2 million trees with Tree Canada. And we would love to hear your feedback. I mean, you heard already in a presentation, and you heard also Shell's view. If you go on you see the title where you have to go to, www.shell.ca/edu. If you give a response to 2 very, very easy questions, we will be planting 2 trees for every single response you give. You would be helping us also to sharpen our messages, and you would be helping us to plant a couple of more trees. Thanks if you do that.
So we're going to keep a little bit of a tally going and see how many trees that we can plant over the course of the next 24 hours. So if you take the time to follow that link and answer the 2 questions, we'll circle back tomorrow and see how we're going in our tree tally. And thank you for helping us offset some of the carbon emission of actually running the event. We appreciate getting to partner with you to do that.
Thanks very much for inviting us. And I'm going to be here for the rest of the afternoon. And if you'd like to be talking about how to buy a bit more VPAR from us, I'm ready to talk with you. But I'm also very happy to answer any questions you would have wanted to ask.
Wonderful. István, thank you so much for being so generous with your time and your comments and taking the questions of the room. It's been wonderful to have you here, and I look forward to continuing the conversation once we move off stage.
All right.
We join in thanking István.
Thank you. Thanks. Thanks a lot.